Hello. This is a read aloud of Under the Persimmon Tree. Follow along and make sure that you're annotating as you go. Okay, so before I start to read, let me just make sure that I am setting myself up for success. And the way that I read a short story is the same way I read any story, which is to go through the story arc and to, as I go, make sure that I'm stopping and thinking about each part. And if I haven't seen anything in that part, but I know I'm supposed to, I'm going to push myself to not move on until I have an idea. Okay, here we go. Under the Persimmon Tree. Northern Afghanistan, October 2001. Okay, so right away, I feel like I have some important information because they're giving me the setting. That means that it's going to matter. So I need to take a couple of things to an account here. One, this is in a place that's not here. It's like farther away. I might say that this is since like I live in Brooklyn, New York, this is a place that is foreign to me. And also this is back in time. So this is like in the past, not too long ago, but a little over 20 years ago. I also might think about like what was going on in the world during this time. I know that 2001, oh, and it says October. Oh, wow. You know, I just realized this is 1 month after September 11th in 2001. That feels like it might be important. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I go through the story, how maybe September 11th has something to do with what's happening in the story. Okay, here I go. Noor grumbles and the quilt rustles as he turns over, but Marajan does what she always does when we try to ignore her. She yanks the quilt up from the bottom and tickles his feet with a piece of straw. I'm going to pause. I did notice that this place is foreign to me, and I'm not really surprised either then that the names are also a little bit different from names I'm used to. So I'm going to take a moment to just take stock of this. I also have a footnote for Marajan. That means that there's a definition. Oh, it's the mother. So that's their mom, mother. And so I have other characters. So I have Marajan, Noor, and then I also have a narrator. Okay, so that's pretty important stuff. So this is the first person point of view. And Noor seems like it's somebody in this narrator's family, maybe, since they share the same, this character's calling Marajan, not like my mom. So I feel like maybe this is a sibling. I'm gonna keep reading to see if I can get myself acquainted with the characters before I come up with any ideas about them. The quilt makes a popping sound as Noor kicks out, but Marajan is quick to get out of the way despite her belly, which is enormous, with my unborn brother. I am sure it's a brother because my mother has been well and happy throughout her pregnancy. I have named my unborn brother Habib, which means beloved friend. I know Habib will be my friend, unlike Noor, who teases me mercilessly. Mercilessly means without stopping. Okay, this is a great place, I think, right now to stop and think about what I'm learning about the setting and the characters, and maybe even the problems, because that's the next thing that comes up on the story arc. So what I'm thinking is that our main character, our main character is related to Noor, and it seems like maybe Noor is her brother. So I'll mark that brother or their brother. I also know that the mom's expecting a baby. And I feel like with all that said, this home is the kind of place where they're really close and they it seems like the mother runs the show, but at the same time, there is like a little bit of playfulness to her because she tickles his feet. So I feel like the mother seems to be in charge, but also sweet so far. But one thing I did notice that maybe could be important is the fact that she tickles his feet with straw. So what does that tell me about the kind of place this is? Maybe they're in like a really rural place, like maybe they're on a farm. because you wouldn't just have straw lying around if you weren't. So I'm getting the sense that maybe this family lives on a farm, and maybe also this has to do with the fact that they have to like get up and start like going. Maybe there's like chores or jobs to do. It seems like there's like they're really busy, and there's like a lot going on. There's a baby coming. That seems like the kids have to get up and do something. So far I'm seeing, seems like the place, this is the kind of place where the family, it's the kind of place that where the family feels like there's a closeness to it, but also there's a little bit of chaos, but it's not like a bad chaos. All right, I'm going to keep reading, and as I read, I'm going to continue to think about what kind of a place this is, and perhaps also some of the problems that might be occurring or coming up. Before Nora goes out the door, he picks up the nearly empty water tin and flicks a few drops into my face. I have to stop and think about this, because now I don't just have different characters being introduced, I have characters interacting. So what kind of relationship does Nora have with the main character? Well, Nora teases the main character mercilessly. And also, Nora also throws water in the main character's face. So it seems like they have like a teasing, maybe sibling rivalry. It seems like they kind of, maybe they fight, but it does seem again kind of playful. Regardless, the narrator seems annoyed with him. It's icy and chases away any thought I might have of sleeping a few minutes longer. Yeah, so I'm getting a sense that this is the kind of place where there's a lot to do. So maybe that's a potential problem. Like there's a lot of work. I'm wondering too, since the mom has a baby coming, is that something that's like concerning? Are they worried about that? It seems like everyone has a lot of work to do. Also, like the kids having to get up to start working too, like that feels pretty significant. Like this is the kind of place where kids work. So what might that mean? If the rooster is up, so must the hen be up, he says, and his hand sloshes again in the water. So seems like they work together a lot. So like if I'm up, you're up. Nor stop playing, Matajan says. Najma, get up. That must be our character's name. So that's our narrator. Najma and Nor. She tugs at my quilt again. After you fetch firewood, you must feed the bukri. Baby goat. Yeah, sounds like they're really busy with work. She says, motioning to the brand new baby goat that stands on quivering, shaking, stick-like legs near the head of the cot where I sleep. She was born yesterday, and her mother won't feed her. So I think that right now, this is a great place to jot about characters, settings, and problems. It seems like this family has a lot of work, even the kids. So that gives me the sense that maybe the family is poor. It doesn't seem like this is a place that is like an undesirable to live, because there's a playfulness to them. They seem to be close. However, it does seem like hard work is required. And it does seem like there's a lot to do. And I wonder if that might become a problem for maybe the mother or maybe even the kids, because they're kids, and sometimes like if you have to work as a kid, that might mean you have problems in terms of how you get to school, or if you can go to school, or what opportunities are available to you. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next page. I'm not going to stop and think as much, because I was really collecting my ideas before, but I am going to look ahead to see what should I start to pay attention to. Character relationships, I'm going to start to pay a bit more attention to Noor and Najma, especially as I go on to the next page. And I want to start to also think about possible pressure and tension that's rising. Seems like there's a pressure that has to do with like work, but I wonder if there's something else. All right, I'm going to keep going. I hold out my hand to the kid. Oh, the baby goat, Bukri, who nuzzles the underside of my fingers, butting my palm with her nose. Then I throw back the quilt and reach for my shawl. The autumn morning air is chilly, and I savor the cool, knowing how hot it will be before noon. That's something about the setting. So it's like helping me to picture the setting. So I should probably stop. If an author gives me really elaborate description, I should probably stop and think. So it seems like maybe they have to work a lot in the morning because it gets so hot. So they're in a hot, maybe it's like a desert. It also feels like that might add to the pressure here because they only have such a certain amount of time where they can get work done before it's too hot and they can't do it. That might put extra pressure on what their workload is. Babajan is already milking the goats. Babajan, that sounds like Madajan, so maybe is that the father? So the father's already up and working. And when he gets back, he'll want his breakfast, says Madajan, folding my quilt so that I can't change my mind and crawl back under its warmth. At the thought of milk my father will bring, my stomach grumbles. I think I'm getting a sense that maybe that this family is poor. They don't have enough to eat. And that definitely would add to some pressure or create some. Outside, Nora finds the pole and ties the ghee containers to either end of it with goat sinew, which is animal tendon taken from the body. Wow, so these kids have some serious jobs. He hoists it to his shoulder and waits for me to walk with him to where the path leads down the hill to Baba Daira, the little stream at the bottom. Baba means old man as well as father. We call it Old Man River because its thin ribbons twist together like the wisps of an elder's beard. A lot of description about the river. I don't know what exactly the author wants me to notice here. Like here above, it was pretty clear that the heat was adding to the pressure. So I'm going to just like kind of label this and I'm going to make a note to come back to it. Maybe it's symbolic for something. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to come back to it because it seems important, but I don't know why yet. I saw a leopard's pug mark in the dust here last night, Noor says. Oh, perfect. I knew that my goal here or my work on this page is going to be the relationships. Now I feel like I hear some dialogue coming. I should really pay attention. I saw a leopard's pug marks in the dust here last night, Noor says, just as we reach the fork in the path that will take me to the woodpile and Noor to the Baba Daira. I hesitate where the two paths split. So it seems like that's all. There's also pressure. Maybe these characters have to go off and do their own thing. And it seems like Najma is scared. But also, it seems like Noor's causing that. So maybe does Noor create tension, makes an obstacle for this character? Noor, Madajan says, her voice low with warning. Knowing Noor very well, she has stepped outside the door to listen. So it seems like this character, Noor, has a history of maybe teasing or kind of freaking out his sister. So it seems like knows him very well, stepped up to listen. Noor seems to often tease or bother Najma. This seems like this is something he's done before. Stop trying to scare her. Najma, you know there are no leopards here. Now hurry, you two. Still, I hesitate. So he's like, is he lying? Also, this is a desert. Do leopards live in a desert? I don't think so, but I'm gonna keep reading to see if there's anything that reveals otherwise. Really? Nor whispers. They were this big. He holds his fist up so I can see it in the creeping light of the sunrise. It must be a very large leopard. Then he turns his back and walks, humming down the hill toward the Baba Daira, the tins bouncing from the ends of the poles across his shoulder. So I feel like the tension is high now because Najma is scared and also alone. What other relationships, before I get to the end of the page, have come up that I maybe haven't talked about yet? Oh, right, the dad. What do we know about the relationship that maybe the dad has with the family? Let me go back before I go to the end of the page, because I said my mission here was relationships, and I definitely think there's more work to be done. So the mother says that the father seems to be out like working hard, works a lot, but also like when he comes back, he expects something. So like maybe he has some sort of like expectations. It seems like there's a lot of pressure on both parents, but also a lot of pressure on the mother to kind of take care of a lot of different things. The kids getting breakfast prepared. Also, she's pregnant. I'm wondering, I'm gonna just put a note at the bottom. I'm wondering, like, should we be worried for the mother or for Madajan? Because she's working a lot. She has to take care of the kids, and she's also pregnant. That seems like a lot. So I wonder if maybe that will become another problem just based off of the way that the mom talks about the dad and the expectations he has when he comes home. My heart stammers and I want to run back to the house, but I know Manajan will be angry. That doesn't really sound like her. She's very like forceful, but not like angry. Maybe because like she expects her, like maybe she expects too much pressure. I turn and run as fast as I can all the way to the woodpile. There, I spread my shawl on the ground and pile several armloads of wood on top. I feel a tingling along my spine the whole time. I think I see yellow eyes gleaming in the dark to the side of the woodpile. I'm sure I hear a low growl. Okay, I know that when it's told in the first person, I've learned this before, that sometimes the first person narrative is a little deceiving because sometimes the narrator is not always trustworthy. It might be that there are leopards there, but I also know that since I'm only getting Najma's point of view, that she could just be like in her head. So is this real or is this just the pressure she feels? All right, I'm on to the last page. What happens now? I am expecting the character to face a problem. I'm expecting symbols, maybe like for instance, that river, that might become clear. I'm expecting to see motifs, maybe some realizations, and definitely a lesson. So I'm paying attention to this part here as I'm finishing up the story. Nor was only teasing, I mutter under my breath. Nor was only teasing. So she's repeating this to make it true. So maybe it is, especially since Nor has a history of kind of getting in his sister's head. But I really am convinced a large animal with long, pointed teeth is waiting to pounce on me. I am terribly afraid of leopards, although I have never seen one in my life. Well, if he's like seen one and they do all the same chores, wouldn't she have seen one too? I feel like he's lying. And I feel bad for Najma because she has a lot of responsibility here, but she doesn't seem like she's going to be able to do it because she's so scared. So maybe her fear is her obstacle. Ooh. Let's see. Madajan reminds me of this every time I complain that Noor has told me he's heard one roar. So the mom also says it's not there. When the shawl holds as much wood as I can carry, I bind up its corners into a knot, and then bundle onto my head, then hurry back up the path under the heavy load. So like literally and like metaphysically, she has a heavy load of work. She has to work hard. So she has like a lot of responsibility, but is also feeling afraid. Yikes. Usually, Manajan fetches the wood, leaving me to make naan, which is a type of bread, inside our mud brick house because she knows I'm afraid. So usually the mom does this so that means that that mom is like really usually helps with this because of her fear. But Habib, oh right, the baby, who will arrive in just a few days, keeps her off balance. Yeah, so basically it seems like they're concerned about the mom's health. So maybe Najma's like stepping up to help out. However, it's creating a bit of extra tension. So it seems like she really needs to and wants to help out, but there's a bit of a conflict here for her on the inside. Keeps her off balance when she walks along the steep, narrow paths. Oops. My father worries that she'll tumble down to the bottom of the hill. And so he has asked me to put aside my fear to help my mother. I feel proud that I can do it, even though I'm afraid. That is totally her obstacle, like overcoming this fear to help her family. She has to help, but she's so scared. I sit outside the curtained front doorway and make a small pyramid of kindling inside the mud oven. Madajan brings out the basket that holds the pads of dough she's made and skewers each piece on a hook that she suspends through a hole in the top of the oven. The goat kid butts insistently at my shoulder. Okay, so there's that like baby goat again, like really wants milk. So it's like another layer of tension, another pressure. There's like not enough food. This family doesn't seem to have enough even for themselves. She's so hungry. This kid's so hungry and has to go do all these chores without eating. Not enough food. It definitely seems like they're poor and maybe like that poverty as well as like their family situation is creating a lot of tension, a lot of obstacles. The kid butts insistently at my shoulder, wanting to nurse. A few minutes later, I hear Noor huffing under the weight of the water as he climbs the last few feet from the Baba Daira. Setting again. Only a moment later, Babajan comes whistling down the path that leads from the pens that hold our sheep, goats, and goats at the base of the foothills of the Hindu Kush. He carries a large pail of milk. Okay, so she's finally going to eat. She makes it up. And now I'm wondering, can I answer any of these questions? So as you are wrapping up your reading, you might start to ask yourself a few questions too. What symbols are in the story? Perhaps what is that river that was mentioned earlier? What does it mean now? Also, what motifs, what concepts are coming up that feel important? Our character is able to overcome our obstacle. So then what is the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this? Things to think about as you wrap up your reading today. Thanks for listening.